Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? I hope you are doing very, very, very well on a very lovely Monday. I say lovely Monday, but it's in quotation marks. You know what I mean. I'm having a bit of a lighting issue today, so I apologize. This side is much darker than normal, but I cannot figure out. I've tried all sorts of different lights and it's just not working. So I apologize that this side is coming in a little darker than usual. But I am super excited and kind of sad to say that today is going to be the last day of the Around the World in 1,000 Pages book club. But I'm excited because I freaking loved Kiss of a Spider Woman by Manuel Puig out of Argentina. My copy was translated from the Spanish by Tomás Colchi. A couple things, just in case you're new to the way that I run this. The first 10 minutes or so will be spoiler free, and then after that I'll give you a countdown and I will count you out. And at the end of the video, I'll remind you what we are going to read in the new book club that is starting in the month of July. So, I want to just tell you kind of a fun story about my copy of Kiss of the Spider Woman. So I bought this at my local independent used bookstore, Recycled Books in San Jose, California. Now, this is a hardback 1979 edition of the novel. I want to say it's a first edition. I think it is a first edition. Oh no, it may be a second edition because it says it was originally copywritten in 78. It may be, I don't know, but it is officially a very old edition. But what's really cool is I bought this in my independent bookstore, and inside of it was actually this little slip of paper, which I'll hold up for you. This is from the Odyssey bookshop in San Rafael that says in 1992 that someone bought this book for $27.50 from their bookstore, and then I got it for $20 in San Jose. So I thought that was kind of cool to be able to travel a little bit with this book. So what is this book about? What is its structure? What is non-spoilerish? Okay, so we have two main characters. We have Valentine and Melina. Valentine and Melina are in prison together in the same cell. Melina is in prison for corruption of a minor. He is a gay adult male and very effeminate in nature, very passionate about movies and film, which I hope you guys thought that was fantastic. I thought it was so good. Valentine is in prison because he is part of the resistance, or the people who are trying to change the government. And they are put together and they form a relationship. Now, a couple things stylistically that I didn't know about the book when I started was it's told mainly in dialogue. So there, most of all of the interaction is conversations between Melina and Valentine. There are times when Melina will have conversations with the warden of the prison, and there are times where sort of like bulletins will be put in the text, but most of it is this conversation. So the whole world is built through dialogue, which I didn't expect, and I did not expect it to be done so brilliantly. The one thing, this is a 5-star read for me, hands down, probably one of the best books I've read this year, if not in the last few years. I think it was freaking amazing. But I will say it does have these footnotes. Now, every once in a while you'll get a footnote, and the footnotes go on at the bottom of the pages for pages and pages and pages. And they become almost, they're analytical, sort of sociological conversations. Most of them have to do with homosexuality. One of them has to do with one of the films described in the thing. I found these rather jarring. I did not find them easy to transition into. I found it problematic to read the pages to finish the footnote and then go back to the dialogue. It kind of took me out. That was my only qualm with the entire book, is that I would start it and then I'd want to be in the story and not in the footnote. But the footnotes are very interesting from a timestamp perspective as well, because they discuss sort of the science around why people are gay. And it is very interesting to see this world of ideas about why we turn out to be gay men and men, mostly. They don't even really talk about women. But it was very fascinating. Now, what Melina does in the book a lot of the time to pass the time for Valentine, and sort of the thing that creates their friendship, is he is obsessed with the movies. And he will tell and sort of create an oral version of these films that he has seen himself, and he will entertain Valentine with these. And you guys, they're so good. The fact that there is never any there's never any sort of stepping out of it where it's not dialogue. So Melina is setting scene, but he's setting it as dialogue, and you really feel like you're in this film. It's very cinematic in language, and it creates such an amazing picture that I, at times, was like, well, I want to see this movie. I want to know what this movie is. And I think that that is just some of the brilliance of this book. And one of the footnotes, which was very interesting, and the one that I was most interested in, is one of the movies Melina stops telling Valentine about it, and then you get to know what actually happens in the section down below, which I just adored. Now, this book has a political angle. There is a character, Valentine, who is definitely trying to learn the philosophy of politics. He studies a lot of books where he wants to change society and stuff, but it never gets bogged down in it, but it is always present, because both men present as things in society that, one, Melina, that comes with a stigma, but clearly has his world. You learn he has friends, you learn about his mother, but he's in prison because of who he is. And then you have Valentine, who is working or wants to be part of a group or is involved in a group that is trying to create some sort of dissidence to change Argentina as it is. I thought that was very interesting, because he never bombards you with any sort of, it never gets boring with like details, but it's there, it's presence. It's just so fantastic. I don't know how to explain it. So if I had to say something about this book to those of you who that didn't read it before watching this video, I would say you are looking at one of the most inventive pieces of literature that I have ever read. The style of only dialogue to tell this entire thing is so well done. You will know Melina and you will know Valentine by the end of this story. You will be invested in their relationship, the way it starts, the way it changes, the way the system works on them. You will be blown away by the cinematic scope of the movies in and of themselves. They are almost like they take you out but keep you in. He fantastically will have like the characters' input, just questions or dialogue, or he'll break it just enough for you to sit there and go, God, I gotta really think about that. It is, I mean, you guys, so good. It is heartbreaking in a lot of ways, because these people miss the world that they come from. Melina has a very close relationship with his mother, and though we never meet her, the love they have for each other is present via dialogue. Valentine is separated from the world he knows, but he wants to be this, I'm going to use the word revolutionary, I'm not sure that's the correct term, but he also misses the normal aspects of a life that his choices have not let him live. I really think that it really is one of the best books I've ever read. I can't even get over it. I finished it and I was just like, what did I read? Do I need to read the whole thing all over again just so I can experience it? I need to buy all of Manuel Puig's books, because if he is this brilliant in this one, oh my goodness. So I hope that if you didn't read the book and you're just watching this video, I hope that this is enough to inspire you, because you can do two things. One, you can then watch the movie with William Hurt and Raul Julia, which is its own interpretation of the book and its own brilliance. I think William Hurt won an Oscar for Best Actor for it. I don't know if it won any other Oscars, to be honest with you. And then you can listen to the soundtrack to Kiss of the Spider Woman, the musical by Kander and Ebb, which it takes liberties, but holds to its core what this book is about. And it is Chita Rivera, and it is brilliant, brilliant in its own right. So I've kind of, hopefully, inspired you to make a whole Kiss of the Spider Woman adventure for yourself. So I am going to start talking about spoilers, so if you haven't read the book, I will talk to you next time. Just a reminder, this is where I'm going to put it in. We are starting the debuts you may have missed, day novels you may have missed. July's book will be A Kind of Freedom by Margaret Wilkerson Sexton, and we will be doing this at the end of July. So I hope to see you guys there. Okay, spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh my goodness. You guys, I kind of want to jump to the end, but I'm not going to jump to the end. What I want to talk to you about is a couple of things. One, what did you guys think about the fact that the person actually doing the manipulation that we see is Molina? That he is trying to get information out of Valentine so he can get an early parole. He is creating a situation with the warden so that he can get information so he can get out to his mother. The character of Valentine is written in such a way that you expect him to be the manipulator, and he is. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think what is brilliant is the author throws this idea at you initially that maybe the bad guy is not the revolutionary, but is actually the man who is the mother caretaker figure who has all of this empathy and emotional awareness, is actually the one trying to work the situation to his benefit. Now, I would argue, and you guys we can talk about this in the comments down below, that Valentine's decision to have a sexual relationship with Molina is manipulation at its finest. I think that he started knowing that Molina, when he knew Molina may possibly get out, he started putting together a way for him to manipulate Molina to do what he needed him to do. And I don't know if that makes him the most evil character in the novel, or if it makes him the smartest. But what happens, and you guys know this because you've read the book, this affection that grows between them, I truly believe that the author wanted me to believe Molina had fallen in love with Valentine. And he felt a connection with Valentine that he had not found with anyone else. And I loved this idea that he felt like he needed to be cared for. It's a very antiquated idea of homosexual relationships, that there's this woman figure and this man figure. But Molina truly feels that he is a woman when it comes to these relationships, and he wants a man to take care of him. And Valentine does that for him. And the thing is, you're watching Molina manipulate Valentine through the warden, but then you're seeing Valentine manipulate this side of Molina by creating the sexual contact, allowing him to feel that there is something there, which romantically you've got to imagine there isn't, only because he wants Molina to do something for him in the long run. I thought that is, in all done in dialogue too, is so brilliant and so intriguing, and it really challenges you as a reader to start putting things together. Now, I wonder, and this may be you, maybe none of you thought that Molina was being manipulated by Valentine. Maybe you thought that he actually was falling in love with him. And that, I think, is an absolutely valid interpretation of what was going on in the book. And that's the brilliance of it, because there's holes in the dialogue and there's space for you to put yourself in these characters' brains, which, whew, so good. Now, I will say the only character that I felt was flat, which is interesting because it's really a two-person play, right? The warden was was just sort of a mechanism for a conversation. I thought he was interesting, but he added very little value. And he got us sort of what was the end of the book, right? And we kind of knew that if Molina was convinced by Valentine to do anything, it wasn't going to end well for him. And so you're telling Molina, please don't do anything. Don't do anything. Go home, go to your friends, go to your mother, live your life. But you knew he wouldn't, and you knew that it wasn't going to end well. And that is the other thing I thought was so brilliant is when the book had to take this turn where we were sort of out of the story wondering what happened. We're no longer in the dialogue, and it becomes very, very much cinematic, very much like you're watching a movie, a police caper, where the police are watching a suspect waiting for something to happen. And just like Molina, who had painted all of these stories throughout, this sort of police report creates a story that ends the novel. And if you guys, I don't know about you, but when Molina gets shot at the end of this book, my heart broke because he was doing everything he was doing was out of love. It's just, so let's talk a little bit more about Valentine as a character. And I think the most interesting comparison for me is the first movie. We talk about this woman that's the panther, right? Who, when she kisses the man, she turns into the panther and she winds up mutilating and murdering him, right? So she mutilates and she murders. I would argue that Valentine is the panther woman in a way. A very clear correlation to me is made. He romances Molina. He convinces him that he's in love with him, and only to send them out, and his kiss is danger. His kiss is the killing factor because he convinces Molina to do something that Molina knows he shouldn't. And yeah. And I thought that was a very powerful, powerful parallel. I feel like we could actually talk about how each movie was a microcosm. I haven't even gotten into sort of the German propaganda film that sits in the middle of this, which I think could be an entire dissertation on the political nature of this book. But I don't know enough about all of that history, and I don't know enough about Argentinian history to speak to it. But it is fascinating to me and makes me want to dive more into it. And so if you can add any light to what that part may have correlated with the actual history of the country, I would love that in the notes below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that film and its sort of overarching theme to the book, to the story, to Valentine's mission, maybe. Let me see, what else do I want to talk about? I could talk forever, and I'm trying to sort of pare it down to no more than 20 minutes. What I will say, the last thing I think we should probably talk about is the language. Now, mine is a translation from the 70s. I don't know, the very common version of this book is the one with the actual woman's face on the front. Fascinating that the Spider-Woman is actually Molina, right? Fascinating. But what I think was so well done is, in my version, it's very readable, but the dialogue is rich with double meanings, and the way that they use punctuation or spaces or pausing to sort of take you out of something or out of a moment or to break between some sort of emotional moment is really, really well done. Don't you think? Didn't you think? Guys, I will say that this book probably is going to wind up in my top 10 favorite books I've ever read of all time. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm 99.9% sure of it. I hope you enjoyed this book. I thank you all of you that have stuck around through 6 books around the world. It started with The Changeling, which I thought was very good and led to an amazing conversation. To be honest with you, I can't remember the name of the second book because I just did not care for it very much. But that was our book out of Korea, translated by Chris Lee, who I love and really wanted to like that book, and I didn't. We read Purple Hibiscus, which I think is probably one of the best books I've read also in a while. Then we read Magda Sobo's Catalina Street, and I thought that was freaking brilliant too. And then Foreign Soil, an amazing short story collection out of Australia that I don't think I would have read without you guys. And then we finish with Kiss of a Spider Woman, which I think was utter brilliance. So thank you all for coming along with me. As always, if you are a return subscriber and you've been part of the book club, thank you so much. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Subscribe. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you guys join in the next book club, the debut novels you may have missed. And until next time, happy reading. Bye!